And we're going to record. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of this wonderful podcast for those who believe. And I'm so excited today because I have a gorgeous friend here, Anne Joelle, all the way from Perth, Australia. We've known each other, we're just saying there, over 22 years. And we met at the Casa, where else? And this
Yes,
podcast is bringing us all together as a Casa family, which we're eternally grateful to João de Dias for bringing us all together. And I would never have met
absolutely.
you and all of the other amazing people from more than 55 countries all over the world
I
uh,
know,
to
amazing.
to be able to multiply this energy on Earth. And you are doing incredible work in Perth. I see you all the time, and I really appreciate you spreading this amazing love light that you have received as a daughter of the Casa. I know the entities were mad about you every time you arrived. They were so happy to see you, and that's the truth. We were all
Oh,
delighted
don't worry, I
because
love them.
yeah,
Absolutely.
and they love you back. And every time you arrived, we were not, apart from bringing me Tim Tams, thank you. And I
Bet you
was
might.
so, oh, look, you're oh, so generous of heart. I, I was always, everywhere you went, it just changed the energy field to the highest of vibrations. So what we're just going to talk about this morning is um nice and relaxed, and a lot of people know you, and they'll be delighted
Yeah.
to hear your story because I too don't know some things about you, believe it or not. Um, how you got to the Casa, what brought you there, how it changed your life forever, how it, what you learned, and how you're using it, especially in this day and age, because you're working your butt off there in Australia. So
Yeah.
you go ahead and tell us, first of all, how you got to the Casa.
Okay. Well, what
Uh,
happened was, what I went to there first in 2000, but leading up to that, I was working on the Olympic Games, and I was in the media. I had a PR company back then, and I'd given up my healing to do specifically to do the Olympics and this media area that I worked in, but I got very sick. It was full on, it was really big. And in the end, I got quite sick. And I'd met poor Caterina Pellegrino,
oh,
she and I became very close friends. She was a healer. And I asked her, she was going to Brazil and she was talking a lot. And by the time the Olympics finished, I was stuffed, to put it mildly. So I asked if I could go with her, and she took me on my first trip to Brazil. And
oh,
that was the start of a whole new life because prior to that, I had a PR company prior to getting into the healing, a PR company first in Perth, then in Sydney. And I decided I had to leave that behind. Well, that's what was making me sick. I should have been doing my healing all along.
right.
I'd been given a gift, and what happened when I first went to the Casa is indescribable. I mean, I don't know what you expect. People, I don't. I think I expected it to be more glamorous. Instead of that, it's in the bush. It's in a rural area, away from everything, with thousands of people were going. Not then, actually. There
Yeah.
was hundreds when I
Oh,
first started. And the Casa was a very
basic.
different shape and everything happened in a different way.
Yeah.
That main hall wasn't there, that's there now.
It was rough and
But the
ready.
energy, it was
Yeah.
pure love.
Yeah.
And you could feel it straight away as soon as you go into that big current room.
Yeah.
And I've spent, I don't know how, years
Many
there, I think.
times. Well, you have. You've been here so many times. I've lost count. I'm sure you've.
Yeah, well, I came 4 times a year. So I'd added up to six
Right.
months in Sydney and 6 months in Brazil was how
Wow.
long. And I took
Wow.
some very sick people. I ended up, he asked me to become a guide.
Yes,
And
I
I did, and
remember.
I was one of the first. I think there
Yeah,
was Heather and myself at that point. There
yeah.
might have been others. I can't remember. Anyway,
No,
it
I
was
remember you were one of the very first, and you were bringing
yes.
really challenged people, and you were treating them like your family, and you were very, very good at bringing them compassionately to the Casa. You looked after every single one of them, and I was there. I saw what you did. It was just
Oh, thank
love,
you. Well, I
love,
did, and I really
love.
gave it my
Yes.
100% because I wanted to thank him because the very first time I went, when I went with Katerina, I had an operation, a spiritual operation, and it was the most incredible thing. I don't know if you'd like me to try and describe it. It's a bit
Try,
difficult, but I
Anne,
can.
because a lot of us understand what you mean, but do try and describe it because it's amazing.
Um,
Amazing.
the spiritual operations have changed as it's gone along, but mine happened spontaneously because John of God asked me. Katerina was then doing the interpretations, as people were coming up in the line. And I was on the other side and I was writing down, and I could hardly write. I just had so much trouble even getting it right because your energy, you're in this field of energy that's so powerful and everything just goes blank. So here am I with my bit of paper, scratching 2 o'clock operation tomorrow and writing down all those things. And by the end of it, he said, just go and sit in the current, which was right in front of him then. So I did. And I sat there and Katerina was just in front of me. Well, what happened
Yes.
was 2 minutes later, I started my meditation, and straight away almost I saw pink and blue bubbles, and you know what that means. And I fainted or
Of
went
course you did.
unconscious. I slid out of my seat into the one in front and under Katerina. And as I was doing that, I managed to just tap her on the shoulder. So she helped. I can't remember what happened next, but I was taken in to another room, which was much smaller than the infirmary now. It's
Yeah.
half the size. And I was put in a bed. Now, what I'm about to tell you, those that have been and follow you will know what I'm saying is the truth because that's all I speak.
Exactly.
But it's hard for anybody else to understand unless were there at the time. What happened to me, my first visit was I had a heart operation,
Wow.
and yeah, it was very big. So I was put on a bed in the infirmary, and I think my eyes were covered. I can't remember, but
Mhm.
I couldn't move a muscle. I couldn't even open an eyelash. I tried,
Wow.
or move a finger, I couldn't do anything. So I'm lying there, and then this vision. You
Mhm.
don't know if it's real but it has to be real. These blue, pale blue, see-through hands moved over my head and down my body. Of course, they were
Oh,
attached. I couldn't, but the feeling,
it's
it
beautiful.
was the deepest, greatest love I have ever felt. I'll
That's
never forget
amazing.
it. But they were pale blue see-through hands and they just went over. And then they came back and stopped at my heart. Then I actually felt,
Lord.
yeah, here we go. Then I felt a knife go in. No, no,
Of
you can't, no, there was no knife, but spiritually there was a knife.
course there was.
Feel it
There's
cutting
always a
my,
knife.
not just my heart area, it went right across.
Oh my
And
God.
I felt that for the next 2 months. I could feel that area was always tender. But
Wow.
anyway, what happened? And they opened me, took out my heart, and they're holding it in their hands, these blue hands, and they were scraping it, almost
Mhm.
like a potato peeler. And then they put it back and stitched me up. Well, in my mind, I was calling for Katerina because I couldn't move. And
Yeah.
then I don't know how long, but she did hear me. She did hear me, and she came up to me, and I still couldn't open my eyes, but I could hear her. And she said, I'm here, Anne, and they've just saved your life. Well,
That's incredible.
my
That's
goodness.
so beautiful
Yes.
and true.
Well, I could
Ah,
feel every stitch. I couldn't laugh. Everyone tried to make me laugh. I couldn't. I could feel the stitches.
yeah, they were
It
there.
was my first time there, and the results were fabulous. And I
Absolutely.
did have a heart attack in 2015 when I was in Sydney, and they found the scars from a previous one. So
Wow.
it
From
was
the
from a
entities.
previous operation. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it had
yeah,
to be
they were
that. Nothing
there.
else ever happened.
And this is invisible operations. We have been witness to hundreds, if not thousands of them. And the stitches are actually in your body. I mean, they show up in
Oh, they
X-rays.
are.
And there's
You
scar
can't
tissue.
speak
There's
or
scar
laugh.
tissue all over my body from the interventions I've had to Casa. I mean, it shows
Yeah.
up. My doctors here and in Brazil say, "Oh, you had an
Yes.
operation on your eye, or you had an operation here in your body." And I said, I always go, "Yeah," because I can't explain it to anybody. Like
Yeah.
it's hard. And they say, "Yeah, you've got scar tissue, so you obviously had work done." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, yeah, I did," but I don't want to tell them I
Yeah.
had invisible doctors working on me because they just
Yes.
think you're insane. But it does
Yeah. No,
happen,
I've never told.
everybody.
I actually never told anybody about it.
Yeah,
This
but
is
you can
my
tell
first
us
time of
because
telling
you're
people.
talking to the converted here. I mean,
That's
we
right.
all
Luckily,
understand exactly what you feel, but
I
that's a
can feel them now,
beautiful,
actually. I feel
yeah,
like they're with me right now because
they're
I
all
work
over
so
us.
closely with them. But for 5 weeks, I felt the stitches or where the
Imagine
stitches
that.
were. So I
And
was
then
knocked out quite a few days.
So then your journey really began when the first time you came here. So you were intrigued to come back time and
Yeah.
time again. And then when
And
you
I
brought the
came back to thank
groups,
the entities for
yes,
saving my life. So
yes,
that's why I brought such sick people. I actually lost two on the way at different times, like years apart, because I brought thousands.
yeah.
And
And
yes,
people do
I
say
was
to you,
asked.
yeah, you were asked to bring people, but people say to you, and this is a question I get a lot, if God is such a great healer, why do people pass away? And my answer is, I don't know the great mysteries of God, but sometimes passing on is a cure, and the lesson
That,
is within your journey on bringing them there and having to deal with all of that paperwork
yes,
and trauma and their families not understanding. It's the
I
work of
think
God, and it's not easy. What you do is
it
not
was not
easy.
easy, and especially in the beginning when I think I discovered that I had control issues. They weren't bad, but I
Yeah,
still felt I need to watch them and herd them and look after them.
yeah,
And as I went on, I understood the things that they went through. I could, I got to be able to help them. That's where I have learned all my skills with
amazing.
people and understand and know what goes on is my taking people to Brazil. That's where it's
Wow.
all happened. It hasn't happened by studying. I've studied masses of things and become an interfaith minister over 10 years ago, but
Well, lovely.
or 12, yeah, but that was so I'd take people to a certain place in my clinic and then they'd go to hospital and I wasn't allowed to do anything. So I thought I'm going to get around that. So you had to be a minister or a chaplain. So I'm both of
Brilliant.
those.
Yeah,
Not
which,
that we use it much now. But anyway, back to Brazil. I still go. I was
yes.
supposed to go this July, but just I didn't feel comfortable. There is so much going on in the world, upheaval
Oh my
and
God.
environmentally.
We
I
just got a
wanted to
new
wait.
pope as well, I mean, in the mix, everything's
Oh,
in the
I think
mix.
that's just amazing. Yes.
It's
I know
beautiful
you've been
and
wonderful.
it can only be good. And
Mm.
it's not your time if you don't feel it, Anne. You're a great woman, and you taught me this too over the years. follow your heart, follow your intuition, listen. I learned an awful lot from you because when I saw
Oh,
you with your groups, um,
yeah,
and you told me many times that by bringing groups to Brazil, it just expanded your whole consciousness and your
it
life,
did.
and your work in
Absolutely.
Australia exploded because people were drawn to you. I mean, the presence of God was within you. I know it sounds it's within all of us, but you allowed it to be ignited. And I
Yes.
admire that in you because you walk the walk and talk the talk. And even though you might sound like you were controlling your groups, you were actually looking after them. You were
I
guiding
was.
them
I
like a
was.
shepherd, a shepherdess. I think.
Yeah, I learned not to control, just to let things flow and let things be. But in my first couple, thank goodness I didn't have anybody pass. But I will tell you about this beautiful woman that John of God came to Sydney and he asked this woman, because I was going to Brazil in a couple of months, and he told her she had to come and meet me and come to Brazil. Now, this is extraordinary, I think. So I got to know this beautiful lady who was in the last stages of cancer. She looked like a little angel, no hair, tiny little thing, highly spiritual, a
Mm,
naturopath, and just the most beautiful person with a beautiful family. And so her husband came with her and her youngest daughter. She left two other daughters in Sydney. And she was fine on the flight, and we stopped at Rio,
mm,
and um, she she ate, she did all everything. I just thought that she was just so wonderful. And then at Rio, when we were doing a little tour, I watched her, and I got this feeling in my inside. I don't think she's going to make it.
mm.
And I'd never had that feeling. I had it many times after that. But at that time, we were sitting on right up the top because what happened was this is another unbelievable story. We got out of the van. I think there was 10 or 12 of us. And we put her in a wheelchair. And I watched everyone get out. And as I turned to get her wheelchair, she was gone. And I thought, we all looked, we couldn't find her. And then in Rio, when you go up to see Cristo,
Oh,
the
lovely.
escalators are just straight.
I
And
know
I
it's
looked up
beautiful.
there and she was halfway up with this. It must have been an angel. He was a dark, beautiful looking, huge man. She was this tiny little thing in a wheelchair. And there she was. I raced up, got up to the top where his big feet are
Yeah.
of Cristo. I can't remember the name.
The
How do you say it?
Redeemer, Christ the Redeemer. He's
Yes,
amazing.
yes, yeah,
Amazing.
yes. So she's at the top. So I grabbed her and couldn't see anybody anywhere to say thank you. Anyway, so we continued, and then it got a bit hot and we decided to come down. Now I gathered the herd, got them all together. She vanished again. And I looked and she's down the bottom. Again, the same man, angel, whatever, had taken her just behind my
Imagine.
back. I didn't even know. Boom, she was gone.
Imagine that.
Incredible. That was the start of it. That was the start. We all got in the van, then we went. She wanted to go for a swim in Rio, so we had to go to the back beach.
Yeah.
And she couldn't walk very far because she was in so much pain. We made a chair for her. All of us were involved in carrying her down to the beach and putting her feet in it.
Lovely. Mhm.
But it was a bit cold. Anyway, we came back and then we went for a Brazilian barbecue.
Oh
Well,
my
I had
God.
everybody was sitting at the table and she was sitting opposite me. And I remember looking at her and thinking, in fact, I said it, everyone heard me say it. I said, my God, you look like a little angel. Little did I
Oh,
know. I had no idea that she was already on her way.
wow.
So we pack up. She ate some food and enjoyed it. We
Mhm.
head back to the hotel. She said, I'm tired. I think I'll go to bed early. So she went to bed early. We all went to dinner. And then 10 o'clock, about 10, her husband came knocking on my door and said, Annie, she's just fallen out of bed. Can you come and check on her?
Yeah.
8 o'clock, maybe, whatever. And so I went up there and I couldn't. There was a wall, felt like a wall. I opened the door and I couldn't go in. I said to him, I can't go in. They don't want me to go in. Something is going on.
Hmm.
There's definitely something going on.
Exactly.
And I could see her. She was just on the bed, not far in front of me. And she had a little bruise on her head. And I thought, oh, gee. But she was naked, lying under the sheet, and just saw a little bit of a shoulder. Anyway, so that was then. And off we went. I did a prayer at the door. And then a
Right.
little bit later, I just got into bed and he came back again. And he said, I think she's gone. I think she's gone. And I went, oh
Oh,
no. I don't think I could speak. I was in my pajamas running around this hotel, five-star hotel. So I
mm.
jumped in the lift with him and up we went to the room. And yes, she had passed. Well,
Wow.
I'd never expected that. She hadn't moved in her position, so she was well on her way when I went to go in the first time.
Good. And you gave her some
And so
prayers to help her.
I then raced down, told him to pack up everything in the room
Mm.
and move all the clothes out and everything, and just to leave her. And I'll race down and get a doctor or find out what the procedure was. I knew I had to get the Australian consulate, and I knew
Mm.
in Brazil, and I knew I had to, yeah, get the Australian consulate and the Brazilian consulate. So I raced down, not being able to speak very well because I always have an interpreter. At this hour of the morning, I just dashed down to the desk and the guy had been asleep and his Brazilian guy opened his eyes. And I said, Morta, the lady in the wheelchair, Mort, dead.
Yeah, yeah, you got the
I
message.
didn't know what to say. And he's looking at me. He's like he's almost coming across the desk at me. And I said, I need some help. Can you tell me where the manager, can I speak to the manager?
Mhm.
Well, the manager came, but 2 hours later. In the
Oh,
meantime, we got the consulates. I did that part. I did a
wow.
lot of prayer with her,
Good.
over her. And then, because was morning and everybody's waking up, and we only had a couple of hours before we had to be on the plane to be in Abadiania. So I won't go into all the details, but the consulates arrived and everything was organised. The husband stayed back and decided on a cremation rather, because otherwise it was going to be 75,000 in a steel case.
Amazing how
Yeah.
expensive that it
So
really.
anyway, we all get on the bus and they realise that there's two people missing, three
Yeah.
actually, three people missing. So then I had to tell them. Now, there was
Oh,
no chance for anybody to say anything or do anything, let alone ring Brazil and tell Brazil that that had happened.
yeah.
So this is the miraculous part. I was so worried about telling them, but I got them, I was able to do that.
Hard.
Got them all on the plane, got them on their 2 hour trip to Brasilia
Yeah.
or whatever it is, but
Yeah.
that doesn't matter. But anyway, I got them to Brasilia and into the coach. And when I arrived at the Casa, outside the Casa, and uh, was Arturo,
Yeah.
Heather, and he grabbed me and said, are you all right? We know what's happened. John of God sent us here.
Yeah.
Now, John of God must have known from the day he said, you bring her to Brazil.
Yeah. The
He
entities.
told me to bring her. 2 months later, I do. Then she passes. But then I still haven't got this part of my head around this part. They talked to me and asked if I was all right and if everybody was okay. And they were. Everyone was fine.
Mm.
But from then on, I did have trouble actually for 3 or 4 days. I could see her little body in my
Yeah.
head. I couldn't sleep. But anyway, I went in front of John of God and that was sorted.
Yeah.
But the fact that they already knew before I got there, John of God knew
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
And what they said was she had to go out in Rio. She was a very high level spirit, and there is a spiritual home there. That's the
Yeah.
bit I have no clue
Wow.
about that.
The
Do
portal
you
is
know
there
about
at
that?
Christ the Redeemer. I mean, there's a huge portal in Rio. I mean, that Christ is something else. It opens up the heavens for everyone. That's amazing, Anne. I mean, that's a
But
very
what a story.
traumatic it's a very traumatic thing to happen, but it was all taken care of. And you
It
trusted the
was.
whole process, and they knew. I mean, they know everything as if we were, um, they know before we even think it. They know what we're thinking.
Yes.
And that's a beauty. That's a huge lesson for you as a guide, and
Well,
also
it
for us
was.
to trust and surrender to everything that's going on around us because we've no control over anything. I mean, you
That's
can't
right.
control
But it
when
didn't.
God calls somebody, and it's not your fault, and
And I
everything.
did tell, I didn't tell you this bit, and excuse me 1 second, I've got to pick up my dog.
Oh,
Hang on.
lovely.
My little
Little
doggy's trying,
puppy.
my little fluffy one was trying to get into
Yeah.
the other room. Um,
Oh, so
Now, what
cute.
was I going to tell you? Oh, one awful, awful thing happened,
Mm,
and that was a doctor came, and
mm,
he was a horrible doctor, spoke English, horrible though, really nasty
mm.
piece of work. And he
Yeah.
had a go at the husband. So the husband asked me to deal with him because he was going to charge us 1,500 to sign the certificate. 1,500 US.
I
I'm sorry.
mean, he's not really a doctor. Ziri de Menezes would have a lot to say about him, the doctor of the
Yeah,
poor.
this is a troublemaker
Oh,
right
he's
here.
gorgeous. Oh, look, he's gorgeous. He's so
That's
cute.
my little baby. I do
What?
anything for my little baby.
He's beautiful.
Yeah. Anyway,
What?
so
What?
that was one trip. I had many trips.
Yes.
Uh,
And you
big,
had many different people from different walks of life and all diverse
different
and all,
countries.
yeah, and all bringing their stuff, which is
Yeah.
hard for, it all comes
And
up in Abadiania,
I
you
like what
know.
some of the guides say. You never know. It's like popcorn because
Yeah,
when you come into the Casa in the coach, I watch them because that's when it starts. From that main road, just down
yeah,
that little strip,
yeah,
their face changes, their color, they get bright red cheeks.
yeah,
They're already started, they're already well on their way. And
exactly.
by the time they get into their rooms and by the time we get to the casa,
Yeah. And
and
by the time people left, there were different people. I mean, you used to come up to the
totally,
cafe, the night before you left with your group before to say goodbye. And they were
yeah,
different people than when I met them the first day in the casa. They all looked
yeah,
different. Their energy had shifted. There was an air of joy and happiness about them.
yes. I
Everyone
brought some
received
beautiful people.
everything.
I was so lucky. I did
Yeah,
have a couple that had really hard lives, and it all came up there. It
yeah.
was, you know,
But you dealt with it
veterans
like
and
a
things.
pro and beautifully. And also you helped to change people's lives. I mean, that was what the Casa was all about. People left with something they never had before. Call it an awakening. Any healing is good. All
Yes,
roads lead
yeah,
to God. But you always left with them. They were all happy. I never heard any of them ever
they were,
complaining,
yeah.
and they all looked different, which is kind of
That's so
interesting.
true.
There's
But now
something
I've
shifted.
changed. Since COVID, I've changed the type of people I take. There are so many young healers that are struggling
Yeah.
or they want to grow spiritually. They're the ones I take now.
Wow.
I, I
Great.
don't take the sick there. I
Yes.
take, well, we all are in a way. We've all got things going on in our energy field. And because the world and the universe is changing so much, we
Fast.
should be healing ourselves. If we can't heal ourselves, come to someone like me and have it be put in balance so that your body can take over and do its own healing, which is what it does.
Yeah, and then
But
you're teaching the healers because these are the future
yes,
generation, and it's a whole new world out there. And
yeah,
the more things change, the more they stay the same. I mean, the healing
yeah.
energy is there. But good, that is great news. Your work now, as a director is
I'm
only
getting more into teaching now. I'm
brilliant.
still doing one-on-ones, and big groups, but I prefer to big group healings like circles of light, I'd call them.
Beautiful. You do
And they're very
meditations.
beautiful. They're
You do
very
the
beautiful.
currents down there too. You do the
Yeah, I haven't
meditations.
done a current for a little while, but I'm heading to Sydney shortly,
Mm.
probably within the month, and
Yeah.
I plan to set up a current there and do. They haven't had a current for a long time, so I will be
Yeah.
doing that at the end first week of June, probably.
And tell us about the crystal beds because you're one of the ones who really have received so many healings from people
Yes,
on the crystal beds, and you're really
yes, I
connected to
know
them.
incredible things, and I want to talk to you about this because someone came to me the other day and said. Um, a girlfriend of mine's just bought one of these. And I said, Are you sure it's one of John of God's? And she said, Well, I think so. Yes, I'm pretty sure. And I said, Did she get permission to do that? The
Mm,
person that sold it needs to ask if it's all right for them to sell it.
mm,
And she said no. And she didn't
mm.
even know what it could do. And I said,
Oh,
please send it to me because I'm happy to help show them just how beautiful they are and how
oh,
the entity
yeah.
in and just help you. And everything goes, just all your stresses go and pain and illness. Oh, I
Dissolves.
can't pay enough for those crystal light beds, but they're getting mixed up. People are getting mixed up because there's other cheap versions in America that they're buying, and they're not the same. They don't have the
Yeah.
blessing of the entities.
Well, the entities
So
need
what
to
is
be
can you tell
called
me, because
in.
a lot of people will come across this, what is the procedure if somebody wants to sell one of their crystal beds? I have four. Well, actually, I don't. I have three. And a chap in Sydney, a beautiful man that I took to Brazil, wanted me to use his because he wasn't well. I mean,
Yeah.
he wasn't at home. So I was able to do that. And I still have it. I must get back to him about it.
Yeah, because the energy of the beds is always about the entities and the beings of light that work through the beds. And some people have never been, as you know, to the Casa and they see Dr.
No.
Augusto, they see Saint Ignatius of Loyola, they have experiences of Saint Rita and they say, Who's the nun with the stigmata? Or,
Yes.
any of the entities. I mean, they're from all walks
Yeah.
of life, so many of them. I mean, they're countless. And the entities work through those amazing, beautiful crystals, and they are a massive healing tool. I mean, they clean up your whole energy field. You know what they do,
Oh, I
but
know exactly. But what I wanted to find out was from you, do you still need to, a person selling it has never been to the cars or no experience with them is selling it because they don't know how
how
powerful it
to,
is.
yeah, they don't
So how
realize.
do they get permission to sell it? And
Well,
does
what
a new
I
person,
have been doing over these years, particularly now since COVID, and when I'm in Brazil, I get them to send a picture of who wants the bed, their address, where the bed's going to be used,
good, good,
and also uh, the name of the person the bed's coming from, because that always helps to make the transfer possible. And then I bring
yes.
it to the casa, I bring it into the current, and then I ask the entities to take it from there. I hand everything to them, and I just say, You show the way forward with this, and this is where this bed is going, and they know where to go and work anyway. But it's nice to literally, it's good manners to ask for permission to make the
Oh, I think
transfer.
so.
And yeah, absolutely. And that's where the intention comes in because you're intending to do the work of the God consciousness. So the
And
entities take
I'm
it from
happy to
there.
help them to understand what happens if somebody's floundering and doesn't know. I'm very happy if they just give me a phone call, I can help them.
Oh, that's lovely, Anne, because you've so much
Mm.
experience over the years and you've had
Yeah, and
amazing results.
mine are
I
so
mean,
old. They're 20 to 24 years. I've got one that's 24 years and the other 22 years
and they're
old.
still working strong.
I've
And
never had a
people
problem. I've changed one globe. End of
imagine.
story.
But also, people have profound experiences on them, and you're there for them after they come off the bed to
I
walk and
think,
talk them through what has
yeah,
happened. Because some people just say, oh, that's it, that's a session. But it's more to that. There's more to it than that.
they
I
don't
mean,
understand it if they're not explained. And I
exactly,
think,
completely explained, and you can never get
and
enough
the
information
person,
about them.
yeah, and I think each person's different that's turning the switches on and off. They need to be clear themselves and need to have an
Yes.
understanding of how powerful they are because
Yeah.
they really are.
Yeah, and also you have had a lot of experience, and you want everybody who is on that under that those lights to receive everything they need and more. So it's
Everything they
your
could possibly want.
intention as you set it up and turn on the switch. You are a great prayer warrior. Your prayers are strong and heard by God, hears all prayers, but you know how to pray, and I've witnessed that. And you put that energy into their healing on that bed. That makes all the difference. It's not
Yes,
about, the hard sell, come and get healed. You're literally a guardian of the bed and you're a conduit for
yes,
the entities to come through your energy field
absolutely.
into the bed.
That's
And
right.
that is exactly what's happening. And anybody who willy-nilly is buying a crystal bed to make a fortune out of them is wrong. So
It's not about that.
it's not
It's not
about
about
that.
that.
And it's
No.
also always okay to charge for a session, but it has to be done from the heart. If you're not and you're right, if you're not a clean vessel, then
How
we
can
heal
you do that?
thyself.
Yeah.
I spent years in the Casa, working on myself before I mean, I've never healed anybody. It's God who heals. John of God says that
That's
as
right.
well. It
Yeah.
is God who does the healing. We're just
Vessels,
channels,
vessels.
vessels of healing for the
Yeah.
God consciousness. But you see, the work of the current, that's why we were told to sit there. And I know people complain coming 8,000 miles and told to sit in the current
Yeah.
or go to the waterfall or go and lie in a crystal bed. You're like, hey, I want a consultation. I want you to talk to me for half
Yes.
an hour like a doctor. It doesn't work like that. God works in the blink of an eye. And
Yeah.
once your intention is honorable and you're healing, you put your intention into what you want, you cannot
Yes.
heal other people or help to heal.
I don't think
And
young
if you're
healers
not,
realize that they can't do anything. It takes a lot to learn that. All they can
yeah,
do is be a clear channel
yeah.
and let the channel do the work.
And trust
And
in God. And also
yes,
surrender. Dom Ignacio, the king of surrendering,
yes, source,
uh,
whatever you believe in, trust in that.
hand everything over to a higher power. I mean, whatever you want to call the God consciousness, we just happen to have a lot of entities working with us. But a lot of people don't believe in, or they're not necessarily Christian or Protestant or Buddhist or whatever. But the healing is there for everybody, regardless of
It
race,
is.
color,
And
creed,
I intend
or
to bring my
religion.
group.
Great.
I'll continue to bring my groups, and early next year, I'm going to take another group. And
Well, God bless your energy,
yes.
Anne, because it's a
Jane,
long
tell me,
journey.
it is, I know. Tell me
Yeah.
about the weather in February. Is it
Um,
still
it,
fucking hot?
no, the weather has changed a little bit in Abadiania. There's been a lot of rain this rainy season, which is great because we need rain. There's a drought in Brazil, of course, everywhere. There is rain, but it's not as intense as around Christmas,
It used to
and
be over
it's
the
not
curbs.
Oh, I know. I mean, floods going down the street. I have a river outside my house.
Yeah,
Have had for 12 years, but that's with the council. But it's also gotten a little bit hotter. September is a very hot month to come, but February is a perfect month because towards the end of the rainy season. Everything is green. The nights are cooler, and it's a
yeah.
very beautiful. I mean, the valley, it's God's country. I mean,
Mm.
I go out in the
Oh, you
valley,
don't have to send it to me. I know how powerful it is. You
and the
see, John
crystals are
God was
there.
very clever. He was very clever. Well, his entities, they
Yeah,
knew
yeah,
that the Casa, that he wouldn't be able to continue forever. Well, he
yes,
can't because of his age. He's a year older than me. So
yeah.
that's saying something. And I'm an
Don't
old
look at
bird,
that.
but
Yeah,
I love
don't
my
look at.
life. I have an incredible life.
Yeah,
Um, But the
right.
energy is so powerful. I take people there, they've had operations, nothing has changed. He is just
Nothing.
not sitting in the chair, but the
Yeah.
entities still come through. It's more direct, which is wonderful for us.
It's
Oh, that you
amazing.
just,
And the
yeah,
garden alone, I mean, even sitting in the garden is like sitting in paradise. I find
I
the
know, I can
garden.
feel it.
Yeah, and that waterfall, there's something huge going on down there because not only the power of water at the moment, because of the extraordinary rain we've had, it's not so much about the power of the water, even though that blast your face off
Yes.
and you have to hang on to the bar, not the the physical bar, not the gin
It's
and
still
tonic
full of
bar.
butterflies.
It's full of big blue, huge, enormous
Well, we
butterflies.
get those in Dunk Island up north. Yeah,
Amazing.
beautiful.
And monkeys and all of those birds, the big array of zoos, gigantic blue birds with the
You know,
yellow and blue underbellies are all
I
over
was
the
taking a
and the
group.
toucans.
We were walking down the rocky road to go, and I heard these little rustles in the tree next to us, next to the road. And I looked, and a little yellow, I don't know, sparrow type bird came on, poof, and then poof, a little orange one, then a green one, then a blue one. And you think, oh,
Colors.
this is not happening. And they're just there with arm's reach. And these little fellas are just sitting there as happy as you like, tweeting away. And we're all walking past, giggling. I doubt if most people noticed them, but I surely did.
Well, they're singing just for us. I mean, they're actually
Yeah.
sent to sing for us. And those toucans, there's so many of them now. And you see, because it's quieter, you can see much more of the natural flora and fauna.
Much better
And
now. It's more
and
pure. The energy to
it's
me, when I
it's
was there
very
last
true.
year, was pure.
Yeah.
Much,
It's
just pure.
actually a direct line to God. There's no
Yeah.
interference, there's no massive crowds, there's just enough people to hold that beautiful current. And also, even the crystal beds in the Casa, I mean, I'm like a zombie when I come out. I go into Dom Ignacio's room now and I'm super glued. I have to get Abadiania. She left me there for over an hour a couple of weeks
Oh
back.
dear.
And
That's a
um,
bit long.
well, I was fried. I actually had to hold on to the walls to get out of the place. And then I sat in the garden for another hour with him on the Jesus bench. And I had to have a chat with Jesus because I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get on my bike. I had to walk my bike home. I couldn't get on the bike. I was so
Yeah.
energized. And then I came back later in the evening to watch the sun go down over that valley in the balcony of the Casa.
Yes.
And it is just heaven.
Yeah.
It is the sun sets there and the sunrises are like nowhere else on earth. And now there's a
You're
mist over
right.
the valley
Absolutely.
at the end of the rainy season. There's this mystical, it's like not a fog, it's just this mist. It's angelic. And everywhere, Anne, and I don't know if you're getting
Beautiful.
this in Australia, every time I look down, and I got it in Ireland, I just arrived in Ireland, and every time I look down, there are feathers on the ground. I mean, there's angels
Yeah.
following us
Yeah,
everywhere. I've never
actually,
seen
yes,
so
me
many
too.
feathers in
And
my life.
that's right. I've been trying to make decisions and I see a feather and I think, oh, well, that's the answer to that one.
Yeah,
because
you're
I
on the
have to
right
move,
path.
and I'm trying to work out where I'm going to move to and whether it's back to Sydney or I do more time in Sydney because I miss it so much and I have so many lovely people there.
Yeah, I bet you
And
they miss
Perth
you too.
isn't, I shouldn't say this, I suppose, but I'm going to. Perth isn't as open or as spiritual.
Ah,
It
yeah,
really isn't. And
yeah.
it's hard work, really. They really don't understand my work either, a lot of
Yeah,
people.
you have to go the extra mile to, but and
Yes,
because of your actual um your tenacity and your stamina, which is extraordinary because you've taught me this over the years, and your faith is unshakable. And I was so excited when you became an interfaith minister because that was one more step up on the path
it
of
was.
helping people, and it was just so perfect for you. And you're going
It was
that extra
extraordinary.
mile in
Yeah,
in
my
Perth.
ordination was something I'll never forget. That's another
Yeah,
time.
and you
Yeah,
are really in the moment. You're living your life like you know
I am.
a teenager, and age only matters if you're a cheese, as you
Yeah,
know. But you have taught me that, in that I see your um childlike qualities coming out and giggling. We did a lot of giggling together, and that is healing alone. I mean, you
yeah.
Perth's lucky to have you, and Sydney will be lucky to get you
You're
back
lucky.
because you just ooze this you want the healing for people, so
Yeah,
the
well, I
intention
still
is there.
do
Yeah,
a lot of distant healing. I
yeah,
love distant healing, and
yeah,
it works so well. But I don't quite understand it because I just don't. But the
yeah,
fact that there's no personality there,
yeah.
the energy seems to be clearer when you're doing distant healing.
And you've nailed it right there. It's like the surrogate interventions in the Casa, which I was doing there,
Oh, that's
for
right.
people.
Yes.
I mean, I can't explain it because I'm not the one. I'm just there with my eyes closed, saying, within
I'm
my
the
hand, a
surrogate
picture.
for.
I'm a surrogate
Yeah.
for somebody. Please heal them. I just have them in my hands, and I sit in that intervention room, and whatever happens, all prayers are answered, all prayers are heard. And you're right, the energy is a direct connection now to the portal of
Yes.
heaven. I mean, it's literally wide open, and the dimensional shift is on, and Abadiania has
Yes.
already upshifted into. I don't talk about fifth, sixth, seventh dimension. It's just gone up into the
Oh, that's
stratosphere.
right. Yes, I know.
Whatever
I
dimension
know.
it
I
is.
want to be there. I will be
Yeah,
again.
but you
But
always
next year.
are. Close your eyes and you're there. You know
Oh, I
the
know.
power
And all the
of
things you
trans
do, you put up
transporting
all these
yourself.
pictures of the cars, and oh God,
I know
it's
I'm
very,
making
very
people
wholesome.
mad, jealous, but it's for us all. It's there. It's for us all, and people are asking about the energy now. And I know I interviewed
It's
Lorenzo
powerful.
Carbone, and he was there last year, and he received. I mean, he was like a little boy. He could not believe the energy field. And I mean, we get people coming who,
He's from Perth.
yeah,
He
he's a
lives here,
lovely lad.
and he comes to my
Um,
events. Yeah.
he really does get it, and he's open, and as he said, and as you are reiterating, it's about letting it go, surrendering everything and letting them do the work.
Yes.
But your intention is to help people, and that alone too is part of the work. And when you ask, you will receive, and if you ask on behalf of somebody else, you hear the prayer even more. So
Yeah.
I'm not surprised to hear that the distant healing is going amazingly well, because
Oh, it
this
is.
is
It's
where we're
wonderful. I
at
love doing
now.
it.
We're
Mm.
like teleporting ourselves to other
Mhm.
places. And I'm
Yeah.
getting downloads, if that's the word, of people from all over the world. My dreams are insane. I mean, I'm amazed. I wake up and I'm like, holy God. I write down the names of the people who have been in the dreams, or who have been in my dreams. I
Oh,
bring them down to the casa, I put them in the triangle into the basket, and literally, usually within
Yes.
24 to 48 hours, I get a message from them saying, I need help. And I said, well, the entities
You've
have
already
already
been
done it.
helped.
The entities are already on it because I just had a dream about you. And sometimes I don't get a chance to message them. And that's when I
Yes.
hear from them. So it's really interesting that we are forerunners of the energy. It's almost
Easier.
like
It's
reeling.
easier somehow.
It's so much more pure and simple. I mean, we complicate things too much and over explain and overthink and
And that's
panic
what I
and
see.
worry
I'm so
about,
stunned by all these new modalities that come out, and they're also prescriptive and they don't feel real to me. This
yeah,
work is so
complicated.
real and it's so
Yeah,
natural and so easy once you
it's a,
just understand a few little things. So I'm
well,
going to get into, I don't call it teaching, but I suppose it is teaching. I'm just guiding people along to help them understand spiritual healing as against energy healing or Reiki. It's very different and much more powerful and
yeah, I hear
profound.
you, and I understand that, and you're right. You're just guiding people. You're not dictating to people. You've lost the
No, I'm
control
definitely not.
because we all mellow with age or whatever. I mean, once I hit 60, I have zero tolerance, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I'm just like, why worry
Yeah,
when you can pray? I mean, I have young
yes,
people coming up to me going, "How do you do it?" And I said, "How do you do what? How are you always up, happy?" Running around like a young thing,
yeah,
never worried about anything. And I said, well, I don't worry anymore because it's pointless. It's a waste of my energy, and I know I'm taken
it's
care
just
of.
take it over. Yes,
Yeah, and I mean, people are like, "Why don't you settle down and get a job?" I'm like, "Hey, like, I'm just doing the work of God wherever I go. I mean, why?
yeah,
Like, I'm really free. I feel a very free spirit, and I really appreciate the fact that I can walk. How many people did we bring to Abadiania couldn't walk, wheelchairs, people who were so
I
sick,
know.
and
My
we have our
goodness.
health. And Anne, praise God every day.
Um,
Number one, thank you for the health because that is crucial. You
yes, I
couldn't
do
do
too.
your
Great
work without
gratitude is the thing.
yeah, and that's part of your profile, and that's what I see every time I see you in Perth. You're there beaming out this beautiful high energy, and I've never heard anybody um give out or say anything about your work. You have got 100% results, and I don't, nobody didn't get it, and you didn't go around dictating to people.
I
You
don't talk
literally
about it. No.
show. It's like Charlie Chaplin and miming. You show, not tell, improvisation. You just by your very presence and by your life's work, you are
Thank you,
showing
darling.
people and
It
teaching
is
them.
my life's work. Yeah, and I
Absolutely.
love
It's a
every
life.
bit of it. And
You have
the
stood up
beautiful
to the
people.
plate and you
Mm.
have followed your mission. And this is a shining example for these young ones coming along who are great. And I'd say a lot of them are really good
I
healers.
really want to help them because they see a new
Absolutely.
shiny thing and they think, oh, I should learn that. So they're studying all these things that they don't need to, paying
No,
out all this money and they don't need to. It's in them.
it's in
It's
them
in every
already.
one of us. Yeah.
And you had them to bring them out. And that's what makes my heart sing that you're teaching and guiding now, because this is another part of your mission that I wasn't really aware of.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
and that you're literally showing them that this is what you've done without going on this massive, um, you know, uh,
Yeah.
paying a fortune for this, that, and the other, and following every new.
Yeah.
There's so much out there anyway that's not real. You need to be
It's
careful,
not real. It's very woo-woo. It's awful. And that's the wonderful
Yeah,
thing about this. All we look after is our spirit and the person's spirit that we're working on, their
yeah.
whole, and it's a
Yeah, and to have a
great love.
real person like you still working away,
Yes, working
on the
word.
planet, we need you. We need your energy, and I'm really grateful that you can share this with all of us, Casa sons and daughters. And there's not only Casa sons and daughters watching this. There's other people who want to go to the Casa who haven't been. who are tuning in. And you explained really well. I mean, that miracle you received, basically, that is the truth because I have
Yeah.
experienced invisible operations. There are invisible beings all around us. Why? We're not the only ones on the planet, believe me.
No.
And
I
thank
know.
you for explaining that so well
I'm very
because there's a whole new generation coming up now with social media and the world's a different place, very, very
totally.
hostile and very hard. Thank God we got away with it, what we did get away with. The beauty of just, not
We were so
having
lucky to have that time.
slavery.
We
We
were
were not slaves to
beyond anything.
technology. I mean, I appreciate technology because I'm talking to you and I'm freaking delighted. It's like
I
Christmas.
know.
It's
I
just
was a
like
bit
we,
concerned, though I'd
what?
love to do podcasts myself, but
Yeah,
and
why not,
teach that
Anne?
way.
Exactly. This is your opportunity now. You see how easy it is? Go for it. I'll support you all the way. I'm telling you,
Thank you.
you'd be perfect at it because you're a natural. And also going forward, you just keep doing what you're doing. I know God will direct you, hopefully, if you want to go back to Sydney. But your work
Well, I'll
is
do
so
both, is
important.
what I'm thinking, both.
Yeah. And anybody who's in Sydney, go to
I'll be over there at the end of May and I'll be working a couple of days a week while I'm there, and I'll be
yeah,
hopefully have an event together by then, a
yeah,
current.
you will, of
I've just got to
course.
find the venue. Yeah.
Yeah, you get it together.
Well,
And
darling,
also,
how nice to be able to talk to you
yeah, and
and
I know
connect.
you have to go off for your birthday party, and I will see you wherever. You never know. I could make it down to Australia.
Oh, well, you're very
As
welcome
far as Perth.
anytime. Just let me know.
I will surely. And thank you for sharing your experiences with us.
Thank you,
And
darling.
every bit helps for us to raise our vibration on the planet. And I love
It
you.
does. I love you too.
Yeah.
Bye,
And
everyone.
I'll see you soon, darling.
See you soon, sweetheart. Lots of
Okay.
love.
Lots of love. Ciao.
Ciao.